Hello, welcome back to Rapid Regeneration with me, Dave Escamilla. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not making any claims about diseases or medical claims, and neither is my guest. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Bradley Lovell. And hang on a second. I was using the wrong microphone, so I just switched it. Okay, I'm gonna start over.
Go for it.
Okay. Welcome back to Rapid Regeneration. I'm Dave Escamilla. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not making any medical claims or claims about diseases. Neither is my guest. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Bradley Lovell. Bradley is somebody that I met at Woodstock Fruit Festival in South Florida. I did a few of his workshops, and he teaches some techniques to relax the body, relax the mind, reset the nervous system, um, clear out the body of obstructions and of tension, and um, just to name a few things. And our guest is also a Renaissance man, someone that we're going to be asking about just overall health, lifestyle, spirituality, and just a all around interesting person. He kind of looks like Jesus's younger brother. Um, and uh, and I'm excited to interview Bradley Lovell. Bradley, thanks for being on the program.
Cool, man. I'm happy to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, gosh, where can we start? I mean, you know, were you always like this, Bradley? Were you always because when I met you, I just had this vibe from you that you were on this kind of spiritual trip, and that you're riding out this kind of wave, spirit wave.
Hmm.
Were you always like that? Were you ever just kind of worldly, materialistic, more shallow, or did you just pop out into this world like this?
That's a great question. I think there have been seeds that have shown me throughout my life that there was a deeper nature to me from a young age. However, I was definitely worldly. Yes. Um, I like to share with people that I was in a fraternity and doing the things that frat guys do. Worked for a corporate job right after university, not very long, but yes, I was pretty typical upbringing.
Okay.
Um,
So you were into partying, chasing girls, just
yes,
physical pleasures and stuff like that.
yes,
Oh, okay. So you really have you have made quite a transformation.
yes, yeah. I think I tried to take that to its limits, and it just wasn't bringing me any lasting happiness or peace. Um, So I started looking in different directions, and I guess the biggest direction I started looking for was within.
Okay. Okay. So to the listener out there, the listener may be at varying stages where they're at, right? They may feel like they're just in this maybe they're already evolved and they're already feeling like they're on their transformation, or maybe they're feel like their life is mundane and that they're just dealing with, you know, basics kind of stuff. So what did that feel like when you were before you started to make that shift and you were just living life, doing the things that regular people do, and then was there a dissatisfaction that you felt? Was it an emptiness? Was it how painful was that?
Uh, I think it started through relationship. I think relationship is something that has always been very close to me and how I learn and grow, whether it's an intimate relationship or friendships, just relationship with the other. And I had seen that some intimate relationships that I'd gone through had patterns. And when enough of those patterns started happening, I couldn't help but notice that I was the common denominator. So these relationships would be beautiful for the first 3 to 6 months, and then a boredom would set in with me, and I would start to become manipulative and, engage in nefarious activities, cheating, even things like this. And at some point, I had to look in the mirror and realize this was my fault. So I hit rock bottom in a relationship, and that was a big turning point for me. And started to look inward, started to devour information. And also, I was easily influenced by people. So at university, I was doing all the things you do as a fraternity member, all well and good. But when I left that bubble, I realized quickly that I was not interested in the same things anymore once I was out of the sphere of influence. So I was able to start making decisions, doing things I wanted to do. And that kind of corresponded at the same time with that upheaval in my relationship. So it was a big growing period for me. I was probably 21, 22, and started going down some different paths, learning new things. And, one thing led to another. And here I am.
So that turning point that you were going through, it was, what did that feel like? You didn't basically didn't like yourself when this was happening, yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of information did you start to, where did you find it? How did you find it? And what kind of information did you start to consume?
I started consuming a lot of alternative medicine stuff. I think, even in my fraternity, we were the balanced men. That was our credo. And I've always taken this approach to evolution in a balanced way. Um, so I'm not looking at things just at a physical level. I'm looking at things at a mental level, an emotional level, a spiritual level. So I started engaging in all of those things in different ways, man. I started meditating in different ways. I would create like hypnotic tapes for myself. I was using magnetism. I was, mountain biking, just doing physical activity, reading a whole lot. I was working a night shift. So I had this like time of isolation where I was working alone in a building I was working a finance job by myself at night. And then during the day, I would just, everyone else was working during the day. So I had to entertain myself and started experimenting. I did some fasting. I got rid of my phone and got a landline to kind of see who my friends were, if they still wanted to um, put forth effort in the same way I was putting forth effort. So it was a big process of learning, purging, implementing new strategies, and often uncomfortable, but I was so curious in seeing results that I became fascinated with the process as well. So I remember going on raw food, just going full bore into it, because I was going to go to Peru for ayahuasca, and they said to clean your body up as much as you want, as much as you can. And I found that raw food cleaned me up pretty quick. I lost 30 pounds in a month. So that led to a lot of changes, and I quit my job. So it was over the 18 months, bro. It was yeah, letting go of a
Oh,
lot and starting anew.
wow, wow. And you were a very young man at the time. What about now? How old are you now, Bradley?
I'm 35, about to turn 36,
Okay.
and
When do you turn 36?
March 22nd.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you're about 2 months older than me. We're
Okay.
almost the same. So we're talking with Bradley Lovell. So Bradley Lovell is he's known for doing workshops and teaching some of this stuff, including nervous system reset, which we're going to talk about. Bradley, I met him at Woodstock Fruit Festival, and he tends to be popping up at all kinds of different events. So if you're at UK Fruit Festival in July, you'll see Bradley there. If you're at the Vegan Wellness Retreat in August in Michigan, you'll see Bradley there. And if you're at Texas Fruit Festival in Austin, Texas in September of 2025, Bradley Lovell will be there and we'll be doing this workshop. So, Bradley, what was that like when you gave up your cell phone? How long did you give it up for, and what was that experience like?
Great question. I gave it up for 30 days in the beginning. I said I'm going to get rid of my cell phone for 30 days and just see what happens with the landline. Um, and and then I just never got it again for a long time. And I left to South America and didn't need one down there. So I really didn't get one for a few years. And that's something I'm always evaluating is my relationship with technology. And the phone is such a part of my life and how I operate now. And I'm just making sure that it's serving me and not the other way around, keeping it in check because it wants more and more of my time. It's like an addict for my time, and I have to just keep it in check. So I'm always evaluating that relationship and making sure I'm aware of it.
Okay, and you have the same thought towards social media. We were talking about this offline.
Yeah, yeah. I bounce back and forth sometimes. I'll create an account and feel like I need to share some things or want to connect with people, but I find that I do better in my life. I feel more at peace without it. And that is not a bash against the tool. I think it's a great tool. Just for me, uh, I'm very interested in local connection. And so when I'm not able to connect with people through Instagram or through social media, I find that it pushes me out there into the world to connect with those that are in my immediate experience. And I find I can connect with people face to face, just deeper. I enjoy things like this. This is great, but I would not want my life to be connected solely with people through the virtual world. So,
Yes. Totally. I totally agree. And it's one of those things, as we've now been in this social media thing for, 20 years, we're starting to discover, oh my God, we're in the machine age and people crave real connection in real life. So typically your local area is in Georgia.
yes, it's about 45 minutes south of Georgia, Atlanta. So, a town city called Noonan, that area, Peachtree City, Noonan. I have a really
Okay.
strong network here.
Okay, okay. That's great. This is what we need to be doing. Um, why were you so protective of your own time, your own space, when you
Hmm.
felt like it was being encroached on by either the phone or social media?
Well, I think that's just kind of the rules of the game we play here. There is everything outside of me is vying for my attention. All of this sensory experience wants my attention, and no one is protecting my peace. The cavalry isn't coming. No one's going to tell me, maybe you should sit in silence or close your eyes for some time or, just pay attention to what's going on within. Everything is pulling outward. And so I have to be that protector of my peace. And that is, that goes for relationships, that goes for activities, that goes for everything. And that's meditation in a nutshell, is taking it from the cushion to the mundane. You talked about earlier, there's some people in the mundane and some people maybe a little more evolved, but I tend to think of it as, my life is pretty mundane, but I'm just bringing more and more awareness to the mundane. Like they say, even enlightened people, they're still chopping wood, carrying water. Nothing's really changed on the outside. It's just the quality of awareness that I have has grown, and I
Hmm.
bring that with my experience and with everything I do, or at least
Okay.
that's the desire.
So the so to the average person listening to this, so you're saying that the value of their own attention, um, being unmolested, undisturbed, like n not being arrested into some other scheme that's trying to get their attention. What's the value of that? You're saying of someone's just having their own attention.
Right, right. Well, what we attend to tends to become us, tends to become our patterns. So if we can harness our attention, because again, the world is trying to get our attention. That is essentially our number one commodity, I think, as a human, is our attention. And just to use a gross example, they say something like a reel or a TikTok, where our attention is slowly being fragmented into small little tidbits, and sometimes it's just useless things. And so, and that's just a gross example. The world is the same way. How we guard our sense doors, whether it's with what we eat, what we listen to, what we view, who touches us, even all of these things play a role, and that's where our attention goes. What we're watching, what we're eating, what we're listening to, that's our attention. So I'm just being more and more mindful of what I allow in, who gets in the doors, because I am influenced and affected by what I consume.
Okay.
So by just being mindful, just by being aware of what I consume, and
Yeah.
not just what I consume, but how does it affect me? I'm also the experimenter. I don't want to be dogmatic in this. I don't want to say, oh, that's not good for me without necessarily trying it. Now I'm probably not going to go shoot up heroin to know that it's probably not good for me. There's boundaries to that, but I like to be my own experiment and test things out first before deciding if it's good for me or not.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah, this is one of the big issues of our day, for sure. So you talked about you went to Peru and you went to this ayahuasca ceremony. What was that like?
Yeah, so I got really into psychedelics during that phase, because I was finding it was bringing me to a place that did have peace, and where I was free of I guess my mind in some ways, and really thought that that was a ticket for me. So why not take it to the nth degree? I emailed an author of a book who happened to do ayahuasca with native Matsis down there, and I got in contact with him. And so I went down there, and I was in the jungle with an Matsis Indian tribe for a couple weeks, and in the middle of nowhere, bro. I'm talking like a 24-hour ferry up the Amazon, and then like a 3-hour skiff up a tributary. It took us forever to get there. And I did 4 ceremonies, supposed to do 5, but on the fourth one, it was just very clear, like, just go in. This is it for you. You don't need to do this anymore, at least for now. Um, Start like going in. And so that was kind of what I started doing. And I started looking at meditation, looking more into that, started developing a serious practice, and just realizing that, at the end of the day, it's all within, right? The whole shebang is within. And it sounds vague and cliche to say that, but this really is, I think, just a big mirror outside of what's actually happening inside. So started to just go in and observe and look for tools in those avenues. So it was fruitful for me, but it wasn't the end all be all that I had anticipated.
Wow. So the end all be all was what happened afterwards, which was the going in, but the ceremony actually showed you what to do to get to the end all be all.
Yeah, definitely a step. And I'm glad I went down that journey, the plant medicine, because I had to see it for myself. And I don't think it's necessary for everyone to do it. And some people, I think, get caught in there for a long time. Again, it's a method. So
Hmm.
any method is going to trap. Like that's the nature of any method. It's just that the really good methods tend to self-destruct. When you don't need them anymore, they lose their interest or they're able to fall apart. So that's kind of what happened there. I was fortunate that it did fall apart and that I didn't, that I wasn't taking ayahuasca 10 times a year. And that's for some people, their karma, that's what they need. But that wasn't for me. So
Okay. And but prior to going down to Peru, you were taking different psychedelics. Which ones were you using?
mushrooms, exclusively mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I would go out into the woods on a weekend, go on a hiking trip with a buddy, and we'd just make a pilgrimage of it.
Yeah.
And
Hey, trust
we were
me.
messing with higher doses because we
Hey,
were growing it. So we were doing, 5 to 14 grams kind of doses. And
oh, that is
um,
pretty high. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty high. It was too high, honestly. So again, it self-destructed though. I took 14 grams one time, and that was pretty much the last time I did any significant mushrooms.
Okay. You haven't done them since?
Maybe small doses, picking in the cow fields, but
Yeah.
nothing big. No.
Okay. Um, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I may have done this a time or two back in
Great
the day.
tools. Great tools, man.
Yeah. Wow, wow. So now when you before you went to Peru, you cleaned the body out by going to raw foods. What was this methodology supposed to do, or why are you supposed to clean the body out before you do one of these ceremonies?
Right. Well, basically, the medicine is going to clean what it needs to clean. But if you've cleaned out things already, like if I've cleaned physically out, then it can go deeper. So that's the rule of thumb. The cleaner you are physically, then you can start dialing into maybe some mental patterns, some physical patterns, some emotional patterns. Um, that's how I've seen it work. And
Okay.
usually those experiences for me, psychedelic experiences are very intense. There's usually some sort of death involved for me. There's always an
Okay.
unpleasant aspect to it.
Like an ego death, or what kind of death?
Yeah, but the ego is so tied in that moment to my identity. It feels like a physical death. There's often pain, unpleasant sensations. Um, but
Hmm.
Yeah, and it really throws my mind off. I've done it psychedelics maybe a few times since meditation, and that still comes, but I have much more equanimity, like stock equanimity, to be able to kind of keep a space from all the reactivity that is going on in my ego during those experiences.
Okay.
If that makes sense. There's like space between the observer and the subject more and more.
Yeah, this is something I want to get into with you because a lot of the time the term that comes up with meditation is space, and people use space, and I'm a meditator now for gosh, 2 years, 2.5 years. I've been doing transcendental meditation. Um,
Okay.
you know, almost,
Mantra meditation.
yeah, yeah, uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah.
almost once a day. Typically on a good day, I'll do it for 20 minutes. And I've noticed this concept of having space, just all this space gets created. I'm, able to hold space, create space. And then I see this term coming up with other people. Someone says, "Oh, I don't have this. I feel like I don't have the space to do that in my life," or, I don't have the bandwidth, and
Yeah.
you notice this coming up with people. Um, and so now being a meditator, so you went to Peru, you did this ceremony, and then it told you to go within. You started to go within. You started to meditate. Um, did you start creating space for yourself, or what was it doing as you were meditating?
Yeah, I think what it does is it creates like space in my nervous system. A lot of the times we are just reacting to our whatever the stimulus is. And what the meditation does, it allows our nervous system to kind of slow down. So you could call it space, you could call it time, but there's more time between the stimulus and my reaction or response to that stimulus. And it's happening so fast for most of us, we don't even know that there's a connection between, the reaction and what triggered the reaction. But as one develops in meditation, those connections start to unfold and reveal themselves. And so like a new world opens up. Like I see why I'm reaching for the chip bag or whatever, because of something that emotional might have happened or this, that, or the other. Start to make connections. And as those connections start being seen, I think awareness is curative in and of itself. So just being aware of those things starts to add more space and time between them. And that's kind of where our attention comes in play. And you could call it free will, but when we have more attention in a certain spot, then it starts to reveal itself. Awareness raises, and there's more space there. So we get to make decisions that were previously on autopilot and be more conscious of those things. And just by developing even a formal meditation practice of 20 minutes a day, you allow that nervous system to cool down a bit. And when it cools down, say our nervous system is just like this, right? There's no space in between the oscillations. But when our nervous system slows down, more space between the oscillations start happening. And that allows us to make better decisions, make them from a clearer mind, which then spirals upward. Our whole life changes as we start making little steps and making better decisions. Um,
Wow.
just
Wow.
day by day in the mundane. And it happens in the mundane, right? That's where it really happens. You can go on meditation retreats, been there, done so many of them, but really the rubber hits the road in your day-to-day life.
Yes. Okay. And when Bradley says make better decisions, I mean, the best way I can describe it is that, you know, you'll literally be shown what to do in your life.
Mm,
Do you ever just wonder, hey, what should I do? Like I'm lost in life. I don't know what to do. And then how about if the universe just constantly is just showing you exactly what to do? Like, hey,
right.
this is what you should do. This is what you should do now. This is what, and it's just like being placed in front of you. This is what happens when you start to create this space and this bandwidth is that these things like appear to you. Has this been your experience at all?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, you call it intuition. And the thing about that is if you're just starting on this path, wherever you are, there is sometimes resistance to those things. But those things that are sometimes loudest are things that need to be tended to. Okay. And usually it goes from gross to subtle, which is why people like say George Peterson, and Jordan Peterson always says, clean your room, right? Clean your room. Because that is a very gross and obvious low hanging fruit that most people can do to start decluttering their mind.
Hmm.
Just clean the space around you. And then it gets more and more subtle. Okay, now clean your body, clean your thoughts up, clean your relationships up, clean your patterns up. And it just keeps getting more and more subtle. And again, we're playing with the gross world, so there's always maintenance to be done on all those levels. But yeah, that voice comes in and there's that's a practice in and of itself, just listening to it and following through with it, because sometimes it can be loud, but sometimes it's just a whisper,
Yes.
and then it's gone. It doesn't
It's
force or push. It's just gone.
it's usually a whisper.
Yeah, exactly. So, um,
Um, so um so I want to ask you about this thing which you call nervous system reset. Um and I want the listener to understand how to do this and what this is. So this is something that we did at Woodstock Fruit Festival, right? We were in this orchard I think it was avocado orchard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah, and we were all sitting on the grass together, and we all laid down. And you took us through this experience called the nervous system reset, which is, as best as I can describe it, it's a series um, of doing things with your breath while at the same time holding tension and kind of squeezing different parts of the body and then releasing them and relaxing them. And this does something with the blood, with the oxygen. And I had some profound experiences with my body. People who know my story know that I went through a lot of hell with my health because my body got uh, essentially poisoned. I overdosed on cough syrup, and my body got completely toxic. And it took a long time for me to clean the body out and get all those toxins out and residues and
Mm.
whatever. And so, but during that nervous system reset, I felt areas of the body, the brain, the neck, the spine, and things. I felt things getting uh, dislodged and released, and kind of the body processing things that I had not before. So it's a very powerful technique. So if you want to do it with Bradley guiding you through it, go to some of these events that Bradley's going to be at. Go to Texas Fruit Festival because it's incredible. But can you explain to the listener what this is and about the nervous system reset technique?
Yes, sure. Well, I'll give you some context. I was in Ecuador and I was doing a long solitude vacation and I was finding I had a lot of energy. And then when I was trying to go to sleep at night, I couldn't really sleep and I wasn't just allowing everything to turn off. And I just started doing this movement kind of intuitively. I mean, maybe I'd read like bits and pieces somewhere. I don't know, but I just started synchronizing my breath with contracting certain parts of my body and holding that and releasing it. And I found that my mind and body completely calmed down after doing this. And so I started doing it more and more and learning the intricacies of it. And I had already had a lot of like formal training in Vipassana meditation, which was all sensory based on what's happening in the body. And I find that that's an extremely important thing. So many of us on this path are making great patterns and great decisions and moving forward on this journey of purification, but we're still disembodied in many ways, and we're not here within, like really feeling what's happening in our body from moment to moment. So I had that, and this just segued so beautifully into that. And, you know, just little things started happening, and all of a sudden I started running some workshops on it, and people were explaining to me that it's the most relaxed they've been in their whole life. You know, I'm having 85-year-old women tell me this. People are crying, having emotional releases. I've seen a lot of different things happen. So, yeah, essentially what it is synchronizing your inhale with a gradual contraction of a body part. And at the apex of your inhale, you hold the breath in, squeeze that body part. I'm using my fist as an example, as hard as you can. And then with the exhale, just a complete release. And what that does is multifaceted. One, it brings tension to the area and oxygen. So all the tissue, all the blood vessels there get a big squeeze. Imagine wringing a towel out, right? Getting a big squeeze, you're getting all that stuff out, right? So that could be old residue, that could be just all sorts of blockages at microscopic all the way to macroscopic levels. and then new blood comes in. You wring it out, and on the release, new blood, new energy comes into that. And by doing that systematically throughout the body, you are also telling your body it's okay. We can relax. You're leaning into the tension by creating it. Well, it's already there, really, but there's pain there at times, and that pain is blockage. But by accessing the blockage and the pain, you're essentially telling your body it's okay. We can feel this, and that comes in the form of pain, cramps, um, sometimes very painful, but as painful as it is, that relaxing it is as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, like you experience it too. We move through the body. We're actually going left and right so that the different hemispheres are connecting, making stronger connections. Proprioception is increasing, blood is moving. It's a workout. It's an active meditation. It's definitely not passive in its entirety.
Yes. And so we were doing this and basically we were lying on the ground and we were starting with the feet and then the calf and then the knee and then the thigh and you work through the whole body and it gives you a sense of control over your own units, your body because you realize, oh, I have a lot more access to control my left hip groin than I thought I did.
Hmm.
You realize, or like you realize, I can actually squeeze my brain and or my neck, and I can contract it and squeeze it, and it's like you said, it's wringing out this towel. And then you combine that while at the same time you're doing this deep inhale, and then when you completely release, you completely exhale, and you can do this all throughout the whole body, but candidly, you don't have to do the holistic program. You could be sitting at the DMV, waiting for them to call your ticket, and you could just do this for one section of the body. You could do this technique for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and it still works. And so this is the nervous system reset. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced. I'm excited to do it again at Texas Fruit Festival.
I'm
But
so excited for Texas Fruit Festival.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Any other parting words about the nervous system reset?
No, if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me. Yeah, I'm sure my contact details will be put on board. But yeah, come see me. Come see me at the Texas Festival, the Vegan Wellness Retreat, or UK. And if there's any other events, then I'll let you know.
Okay, so we're talking with Bradley Lovell, um, he about nervous system reset and other things. So, but that was if you got nothing else out of this talk, the nervous system reset is incredible. And Um, I want to ask you back about you cleaned your body out to do this ayahuasca ceremony. What about after that? Did your diet change after you went through that process of going on raw foods? How do you think about food compared with energy and emotional wellness and spirituality and kind of what do you normally eat now and what's that process been like for you?
Yes, my journey with food, and again, it's really like what my journey with consumption is has been a roller coaster for a long time. I remember I was raw for that time for like 6 months. And then I started traveling internationally for the first time. And that took me by storm. I did not realize the kind of emotions and things that were going to arise through traveling, leaving the safety of everything I knew into new cultures, new environments. And I just wasn't equipped. I wasn't equipped emotionally, didn't have the tools to deal with all those things that came up. So, my diet suffered for that. That became a comfort for me, because that was always something I reached to, even growing up. Many of us do. Um, so yeah, and again, this was 13, 14 years ago now. So it has evolved a lot since. But I've always, fruit and food in its unadulterated state has always been like a mainstay. Even if other things will enter into that scheme, that is always part of it, particularly fruit. So that is one food that it is just never adding to like my ill-being. It's always adding to my well-being. So that has been consistent. For now, I've been just on raw food for the past almost a couple months. And then before that, it was probably, I don't know, like 80% fruit and then like a salad or some simple meal at night, maybe something cooked. Um, just kind of flowing with it. Again, I'm not dogmatic about it. I know
Hmm.
when I need something, and even when I know I need it just for emotional comfort, I just try not to go too far out of my boundaries and you know, but yeah, I've been just on raw for the past couple months and mostly fruit because that's what's that's what tastes good and feels good to me. And but I feel honestly, Dave, this couldn't come at a better time because I feel the most balanced I've been in my whole life in these past couple months. And I think we spoke in January. I did a fast at the end of January and February and just reset everything. And I have just been feeling wonderfully balanced since then and know what I need, know what feels right, following my intuition, and just feel like my learning process is also increasing and becoming faster. Before I might have gone off my track, and when I say my track, that's just like done things that are unwholesome, whether I've consumed greedily or consumed things that I know weren't good for me or that feel bad. uh, I'm able to come back on track much faster. So that mechanism that brings me back to equilibrium is very strong right now. And so I'm really just supporting that. And and when it comes down to it, it's just me taking care of me. I mean, when I take great care of myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, everything else falls in place. But when I start putting too much energy in others or in things that really don't concern me, being in other people's circuses, whatever it is, it scatters my mind and I lose equanimity. So I've just taken the time to do what's best for me and letting the chips fall where they may.
Okay, and by equanimity, you mean stock, or what does that mean?
I just mean balance, I guess, like balance of my mind and um yeah, balance of my mind,
Okay.
basically.
So, Bradley, how do you balance this thing that we're talking about, which is creating this bandwidth, this awareness, this kind of you have this attention where you're autonomous, where you're sovereign, this power that we're tapping into. How do we balance that with also navigating the world and, the pressures that we have, economic pressure or whatever it is just to survive? And,
Hmm.
how do we not spend all of our time just, sitting on a couch, meditating and also going and fulfilling our purpose? Um, how did those two things balance in your mind?
Yes. Great question. So I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think the world again, it wants it wants whatever we've got in our cup, right? And so if my cup is empty, I've got nothing to give the world. And if I do, it's kind of a weakened, diluted version. So I balance it by taking just great care of myself, man. And I'm not perfect. That balance is a constantly moving needle that I'm trying to strike. And it's great when I hit it right in the head, but most of the time I'm a little left, I'm a little right. I'm okay with that. Um, so that comes back to fundamentals to me. Like time in silence every day. Just that's time to process things. Essentially, the game for me is we are consuming all the time. And so then we're processing it. We're processing it mentally, physically, emotionally, all of these levels. So we have to actually spend time processing our experiences instead of continually consuming experience. So as we do that, we start to get better at that. So that's which is what fasting is, right? You stop consuming and you start processing, integrating whatever physical stuff. But fasting doesn't just have to be from food. Sometimes we're consuming too much on our phone. I need to fast from my phone and just, you know, not be consuming things on my phone. I need to fast from people. I'm spending
Okay.
way too much time with people and I'm losing myself. I need to fast from people for some time. I need to maybe go on a little retreat. So yeah, that happens from gross to subtle too. So what I find in my own journey, and I've seen a lot of people, is that they'll go big off the rip, say, okay, I just need a retreat from people. Okay, they're gonna go and sit in silence for 10 days and do this thing. And they'll do this gross dramatic change, which is maybe what they need. But at some point, it
Is it
comes down to
sustainable?
the day becomes the unit. The day
Yeah.
becomes the basic unit. And how do I navigate the 24-hour diurnal period? What does that look like? Because so yeah, there's periods of integration and periods of consumption. And so for me, a lot of my integration is coming in the morning time, first thing, and in the evening time. And then the world gets a lot of the day throughout little moments, like you said, you're at the DMV, you're meditating, you're doing the nervous system reset or doing your mantra. There's always moments throughout the day to come back to that. But yeah, morning time is for me, evening time is for me. And that's kind of how I balance it during the day, man, and just take it day by day. Because if how patterns can get out of hand. You're consuming too much of this, consuming too much of your friends, consuming too much food. That starts to build a pattern up, and all of a sudden you've gained 10 pounds or you've gained 15 pounds, or you can't get your mind to shut up, because you have too many things on your plate. Uh, that can manifest in many different ways. But if we can have a solid morning and a solid evening, for me, that has worked well to start and
Okay.
end the day.
And you do what type of meditation would you say?
Um, I think it's a lot of metta meditation along with Vipassana, kind of a mixture of those. So Vipassana being sensory based, just developing objectivity with whatever's happening within my body. And then metta would just be like loving kindness. So just giving myself loving kindness, giving those I care about loving kindness, giving the world loving kindness, just kind of radiating that within and without. And that's pretty much our practice. And that's about 2 hours a day. So it's to do about an hour in the morning and then an hour in the evening. And so it's a big commitment, seemingly, but I find because of this, it saves me on at least an hour of sleep. I mean, I'm sleeping, I'm waking up naturally, probably around 5:30, um, and going to sleep maybe around like 11, sometimes midnight, but I only need probably 5 to 6 hours of sleep, and I wake up without an alarm. I wake up feeling refreshed. Um, so, and that's a relatively new thing for me. I needed more sleep before and after this fast. Some things clicked, some things shifted for me, and just kind of been on a tear. But I'm noticing I'm not needing as much sleep and being totally fine with that. And when I need sleep throughout the day, I can take a nap. I'm fortunate in that I've structured my life. I'm self-employed. I work on my own schedule. I have free time to work on independent projects and schedule projects for other people as well. So, but that has come over time, you know.
Okay.
This is a journey of 13, 14 years that I've come into this. So it
Hmm.
hasn't always been a smooth road, and it's not always
Yeah.
smooth even now, but I
And
have the tools to handle things.
to the listener, right? It doesn't mean you're going to do an hour in the morning and an hour at night.
No, no.
It's everyone finds their can find their own version of this balance thing that we're talking about, right?
Nor should you aspire to it, right? That is just my path. And maybe I need that because I'm fucked up and I've got more things I need to deal with. So I need 2 hours. It's just that's
Yeah.
one way of looking at it. Um, but if you're just starting on this type of path, I think a lot of you, if they are just starting, they're probably gathering information, trying different things, seeing what might work. Um, but
Hmm.
Yeah, I just can't imagine a situation where for anyone it can't be helpful to just sit and be without any agenda, just observe your mind, observe your body,
Yes.
close your eyes, even if you lie down,
Now,
allow thoughts and things to come up. That is your body and mind processing experience.
now, when people hear you say that, immediately people have this visceral reaction of actually like, oh, that actually sounds like the worst possible thing that I could do is just sit with total nothingness. So
Right.
give me the what's the reward? Like when I was learning about transcendental meditation, the TM people were pitching me and saying, hey, you're gonna feel like this, like you're gonna tap into this ocean of energy and divine power, and you're gonna tap into that. What's the what's the reward for people that decide to go through this uncomfortable experience? And how would you describe the feeling you get when you start to um, integrate this meditation?
Well, I think the best way I can say it, because, going down any type of path like this, people might be lured by an experience like that, like a divine peace or the spiritual fireworks, so to speak, like some bliss that you're going to experience. But even that's temporary. That's not something we can rely on to be there. But I think something we can cultivate that can help us all the time is just a general contentedness with what is happening. You are out of control of your life. You cannot control the challenges and vicissitudes that will come your way. But if we develop a sense of poise and just general okayness to what it is, then we have a lot more bandwidth to handle whatever it is in front of us. But if we are reacting and trying to push whatever it is away that's happening to us, not accepting reality as it is, say some challenge at work happens, some your boss is putting these demands on you, and or anything, the first step is just you accept it. This is what it is.
Yes.
You're not going to move forward in an efficient manner, in a harmonious manner, if you're first denying that it even exists, or questioning why it exists. The fact is it's happening. Okay, so you can deal
Yeah.
with it from that point of view. And so that's what all of these tools are, is just giving me a general contentedness to handle what comes my way. And that is invaluable because you will be hit with challenges. Like no one can avoid challenges in their life. We're here to grow, and that's how we grow, is out of our comfort zone. So this okayness, this contentedness gives you a deeper sense of comfort even when you are mired in discomfort. It's like a
Wow.
behind the scenes comfort, even though your stage character, Dave and Bradley, might be experiencing the discomfort on stage, like behind the scenes, oh, okay, this is what's happening. This is fine,
Okay. Wow. I've found the same thing, and I always described it as resistance. Like my resistance just goes down and down and down. Where previously I would be hit with something, I would immediately just resist. And the more bandwidth I
right.
get from meditation, is really where it comes from, is just yeah, immediately dealing with something, processing it with little to no resistance,
Right.
and
Exactly. And to cover your question earlier, like, well, someone hears this and like, okay, what's the point? I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Like, that's got to be the most inefficient thing to do, right? But let me say this, if your nervous system is in a state where you are just reactive and you're not aware of what's going on, the decisions you're making are inefficient, they're out of harmony. they're probably not going to get fixed in your first decision. You're going to have to deal with that pattern again and again. But when we calm our nervous system down, allow what we need to process through, give us that bandwidth, give us that space, we make decisions from a responsive place, not a
Right.
reactive place. So
Yes.
our decisions are so much more efficient, or efficient rather.
Yes.
We slow down. And another view is time. Think of time. Time is totally subjective. Everyone's had the experience where they thought only 5 minutes had passed, but it was actually an hour. You were playing, you were in your zone, or when you're absolutely bored out of your mind, waiting for the clock to strike the hour, and it's going slower than ever, right? Totally subjective.
Yes.
When we slow down, we actually have more time. Time slows down, giving us more out of our experience, right?
Totally.
So
Yes.
we hear the old folks saying, "Oh, it's just time's gonna fly. Time's gonna fly." And in some respects that does, but a lot of the times when people say that, that's because their nervous system is so tense and so tight. They have not been processing their experience adequately. They're just accumulating and consuming experience. So it keeps speeding up for them, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. That doesn't have to be the norm. We can enjoy our life and wow, today was full. You know, our days can be full and rewarding. And it just starts with small steps wherever you are. It doesn't matter where you are. It'll take a little discipline, maybe a little willpower, but you just be honest with yourself and be gentle with yourself. That's so key, especially for a lot of men in this culture. They want results here, they want it now, they want it done. Like, and when that doesn't happen, they think they are the problem. It's their fault. And so they kick their own ass. I've seen it time and time again, even within myself. And I've had to learn, like, yo, I've got to be gentle with myself for real. I'm my toughest critic. There's nothing you could say to me that I have not looked over under a microscope 1,000 times. But I have to be gentle with myself and
Mm.
remind myself of that because it's just not worth it. It doesn't lead anywhere, you know?
Wow. Yes, and I totally agree. You don't meditating does not cost you time. By meditating, you can control time. I mean, and more so than you could before. You can create time. And time becomes elastic um and these are uh things that the listeners you should think about, is creating this in your life. So as we wrap up here, talking with Bradley Lovell, Bradley, as you look out in the world, um, in the time that we're in right now, where do you see things going?
I think we are at a interesting crossroads between urban and rural life. I think we are seeing them come together. So we have rural people in Africa have cell phones, and we have people in the cities growing food off their rooftops. We have this like medley of these different things, and it's a really great time. I think we're in right now. There's a lot of opportunity to grow in this period. Um, yeah, and really just allow your purpose to unfold and allow your gifts to unfold. There's a lot of potential energy right now in the field. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel very good about the future. Yeah, there's some things happening in the world that I don't necessarily want to participate in, but I don't have to. I don't have to participate in it. Everyone gets to play their own game. And the more I become sovereign, I get to play the games I want to play. I get to go
Okay.
share meditation at fruit festivals and eat a bunch of fruit with people I love and do fun projects and whatever. Um, yeah, this is your game. And the more that you can, I guess, clear blockages out, you'll get to flow more. So
Okay.
that is essentially the journey of purification is cleaning out what what doesn't need to be there anymore in your mind and body. And we have tools for that.
So, so, talk to me about playing a game because, right, like, or playing games because we talked about control earlier, right? There's things you can control, right? You can control parts of your body, you can control time. There's a lot of things in your life you can control.
Yeah.
There's also things in this world that are out of your control, right? And so how do you deal with things like if you look at forces in the world that are suppressive, right? They're destructive, or they have this agenda, and they're affecting the world that we're in. How do you deal with that? And you talk about games and not playing games and playing your own games and
Yeah. Yeah.
control versus things we can't control. How do you manage all that?
Well, I think a big realization came for me when I realized that those forces, those people, organizations, beings, what have you, that are on top of this, mundane food chain, they are no different from me. That was huge. That those same forces are within me, and there's no separation there. So I stopped vilifying those forces and I started seeing them as okay, that's part of the game. Okay, you got say you're playing Monopoly, right? There's a go to jail square there. There's a chance card here. There's these parts of the game. And as you learn the game board more and more, that these is just part of it, you can still choose though. So, for example, these forces put out all sorts of poison in our media, in our grocery stores. That's part of the game. But at the end of the day, you're grabbing for it at the grocery store. You're turning on the TV and watching that. You're deciding, I'm going to play that part of the game and be
Hmm.
influenced by that part of the game. So as we become, this is where the meditation comes in because you become more aware of your decisions, how they affect you.
Hmm.
You start seeing the games you want to play, the parts of the games that aren't working for you anymore that you need to let go of, and the parts of the games that are more wholesome
Hmm.
and more balanced. So
Wow.
there's nothing evil about any parts of the game. It's just that's your own perception of it, your own projection. That just is a part of the game.
Hmm.
And it leads to places you might not want to go, but there are other things that lead to places you do want to go. More purity, more awareness, um, just things that are more wholesome, things that hit the mark more. And so that's kind of the view I take on it. And as a game, it's more playful for me. It loses some of its heaviness and it has more levity that way.
Yes.
Helps me take life just a little less seriously because I tend to skew towards the more serious. So I sometimes need tools that take me away from that.
It's
Sometimes
good.
people are
We can
too,
all lighten up a little bit, I think.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, these forces are at play. And I think as we move more into our own potential, we have our own protections in place. Uh, and so even though we're in this environment, not to get woo on you, but I have an aura and there are things that won't get into it. And you can believe that, you don't have to believe that. I can feel it at this point, and I know when it's been, penetrated and when I need to, protect it or put my defenses up a little more. But also that happens. Sometimes you just got to let things come through, and they come through because they resonate on some way, and then you process it and you learn from that pattern. So, yeah, I guess one more thing I'll say is you can't intellectually understand this game in its entirety. We can talk about it to the ex and we talk about it in this platform because it can inspire. It can inspire you and I. It can inspire our listeners to walk their path, their own idiosyncratic path. But we can't understand all of that's happening intellectually. So a lot of the times it just is what it is, and you've got to be there for it and feel it. And the more you're able to feel it without resistance, like you said, then you can learn from it and grow from it and move forward. And you don't have to necessarily understand what's happening or why it's happening, but just accept that it is happening.
Hmm. And how do you protect your auric shield?
It's again, it's part of that purification. So day by day, I take care of myself, and I'm not sitting there imagining, okay, like the golden light is coming now and enveloping me. I mean, you could do that and it probably has an effect. Um, but it's just me taking care of myself, and that vibration comes from within and penetrates outward. It's not coming from some golden light out here. It's I'm taking care of my own heart and body, and that is just naturally going to affect my vibration and aura from outside, from the
Okay.
center.
Okay. Um, you've been hearing our discussion with Bradley Lovell. Bradley is, gosh, a Renaissance man. Um, Also a musician. I didn't even mention. You can actually find Bradley's music on all streaming platforms. He's under Bradley J. That's one word, Bradley J. All streaming platforms. Bradley's also an artist and a carpenter and carves these beautiful creations for people's homes. And if you ever want to get in touch with Bradley, you can reach out to Bradley at bradleyjlovell@gmail.com. You can come meet Bradley, do one of his workshops at the UK Fruit Festival, at Vegan Wellness Retreat, at Texas Fruit Festival, texasfruitfestival.com. And I guess any other fruit festival that's happening, you can pretty much bet that Bradley will be there. Um, Bradley, what are you most looking forward to about Texas Fruit Festival in Austin, Texas? It's at the end of September. It's $49. There's going to be some incredible speakers and activities. TexasFruitFestival.com. I'll be there. What are you looking forward to most about that?
Bro, I'm looking forward to connecting with you. I'm really excited about that. I know we've got a connection and we've had some mutual connections that we found out last time we spoke about. I'm from
Yeah.
Texas, so I have a lot of roots in Texas, and I'll be staying at your place during the festival, which we've already
Yep.
decided. So yeah, dude, I'm definitely excited about connecting with you and some people I know in Texas, swimming, the good fruit. Yeah, man, it's such a wholesome time. And it's the venue you're creating and the event you're creating is I know it's gonna have its own unique flair. And now I've been to a few festivals, so I'm excited to see what y'all have created. I'm pumped, man.
Oh my God. So, think about going. I mean, it's going to be the biggest and best so far. So, texasfruitfestival.com or follow at Texas Fruit Festival. Um, Bradley, in the next medium term, what else are you looking forward to? What else are you up to? What's next for you in this next chapter, Bradley Lovell?
Great question. I am working on a lot of new tracks right now. They have taken me some time. It's a long life cycle on some of these songs, and my artwork, my woodwork has taken on new levels. I'm working with new mediums. I'm just getting challenged in really fun ways right now. And I'll be in Europe this summer, in France, Greece, and the UK. So, yeah, medium term, really excited about that. Some fruit seasons coming up. And yeah, just
Great.
the year's looking great, man. The year's on the outset. I'm really excited about it.
Wow. Well, Bradley Lovell, uh, thank you again. What is your final advice? Let's say if there's a listener out there who's just struggling, maybe this person feels like they're stagnating, like they're on a plateau. They know that there's the next level that they need to get to, but they're just struggling to break through and find that version of themselves. What would your advice to that person be? Final thoughts.
Be honest with yourself. Be sincerely honest with yourself. And if you need to reach out for help, reach out for help. Reach out for help. You know, we are deeply alone and in this together, and noble friendship is a huge part of the path. So, if not the whole path, we constantly support one another and bolster one each other up. Not all of us can be up all the time. We all go through our own waves. So, if you're down there and you're like, what is happening? Reach out. Reach out to someone.
To someone, is it a human? Is it a spiritual entity, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking human. If you have access to spiritual entities and you feel comfortable with that, sure. But I think human is tangible, and um, yeah, I would say human. I would say
Okay.
human.
And
And
no, noble, what does noble friendship mean?
I guess I mean noble friendship, people on a path of getting closer to God, getting closer to
Hmm.
source, whatever you have it. Getting closer to our roots, our ultimate roots, whatever that is, the ineffable, what the permanent, what doesn't change. We are in this soup of everything changing, and I think underneath it all is something that doesn't change. There's something that is timeless and eternal, and so I say noble path, and for all of us that are on our way to that, um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And it's okay to have all kinds of friends, like I like the
yes,
the ones that you have where, they're just hanging around and grab assing and just chatting and gossiping, and it's petty and it's mundane, and we all have friends like that, but
yes,
get yourself some noble friends
yes,
too, and
definitely.
and
Definitely. If you only have noble friends, get yourself some grab assers. And if you only have grab assers, get yourself some noble friends.
totally, totally. So Bradley, I consider you a great friend, and I'm so grateful for this chance we've had to learn from you. And so to the listener, listen to what Bradley's saying, and he's been there. He's been through the rough parts, and uh, look at him now. If you want to hear his music, Bradley J on music platforms, and come and meet Bradley at one of these events, Bradley Lovell, including Texas Fruit Festival. Bradley,
Yes.
thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Dave, great speaking with you, bro. We'll be in touch.
For more information, please follow at Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.